Pete Santilli, welcome back to Liberty Tactics. How you doing?
Oh, it's so good to hear your voice, Lou. It's so good. The previous times that we spoke of, remember the wild, wild west of the internet when you could talk about anything. It was
I
so much
know.
fun.
I was
It
I was
was
thinking
so
about it
great.
earlier. That was 2012. We kind of hooked up with you. I mean, that's like 13 years ago, Pete. Where's it gone? What have we all gone through?
Holy cow. Yeah. And I've noticed through the tumultuous times, aged a little bit, but guess what? It's because I never expected that being a truth seeker and a truth teller was the biggest weapon that you could ever have pointed at these
Yeah,
globalists. I never knew that. I thought maybe nuclear weapons are, well, we're not launching nukes. We're just launching information. No, what
exactly.
we have, a nuke is only limited. Like you can nuke New York City, and it's only New York City that you take out.
Yeah.
But with information, you can literally conquer the world with information, right?
Well, you can. Well, Pete, you've been conquering the world now for many years, but you're always there and you're getting everybody else's story. You're bringing it. We don't hear much about the Pete Santilli story. So let's go back. Let's start at the beginning. How was your early
Oh,
life? Let's talk about you and where we are today. Off you go, Pete.
yeah. I really I want to let whoever's listening know what led me to the point to where I'm speaking to them. Okay. And I came from traditional corporate America. I used to work for the largest companies like Bell South in telecommunications, the 35th largest company in the world. And then I went on to work for Coca-Cola. So I lived a very successful life. I had a small business. I was an entrepreneur. I actually worked as the digital marketing director for the Trump Network in 27, 8, and 9.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and had and I was making money as an entrepreneur on the side, but still had my corporate job, and and I was raising a family and trying to have supplemental income. And then right about 2011, I saw Obama come onto the scene, and I said, "This guy, this is communism. This is." Now, I was in the United States Marine Corps prior to my corporate work. I knew what communism was. I could smell it, I could see it, I could touch it. But at that time in 2011, using the term communism and saying that what Obama was doing was bringing on communism, there was a mass formation of psychosis. You couldn't say that to people back then. I was an early person that was calling them out as communists
Yeah.
very early on, and I was starved for information. Like I was tuned into Fox News and I was believing all the stuff that was in the mainstream media on our side of the political spectrum. Um, so I bought into all that stuff. I'll never forget the day when my co-host Deb awakened me because I'm a recovering Roman Catholic. The religion of Roman Catholicism kept me away from reading the Bible.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but she awakened me to how corrupt the Roman Catholic religion was. And I was shocked by it. I was like, what do you mean Pope John Paul, was involved in, running pedophiles around the world? Pedophilia in the Roman Catholic. I never had any exposure to that. I didn't know that Roman Catholics and the deep, deep research that you can do into that they've been involved in, controlling the world's money flow. And also involved in some very, very nefarious things. I came wide awake to that like 2011 into 2012, right about the time when we first met you. So I came awake as I decided to educate people on how wrong the Obama regime was at the time. Um, and it was an accelerated awakening like you can't even possibly imagine it. Uh, I didn't trust anybody when I recognized that I had been lied to on so many different levels. I had to do my own research. Like I would hear a story about the Freemasons. Well, I'd have to go do some research on the Freemasons and do it myself. So there was a guy named Bill Cooper talk show host. He said,
God rest his soul.
never, yeah, God rest his soul. Don't trust anybody. Listen to and read everything you can get your hands on, and only believe that which you've researched yourself.
Yep.
So I approached, fact finding, truth seeking, and then, of course, truth telling, because I used, independent media as a platform to help share the information that I was learning real time in front of everybody.
And
Well,
you went big
yeah,
quick. You were up there. I mean, you were practically Alex Jones level at one point.
yeah, we had and I'm gonna get to that moment where I was starting to discover some pretty big stuff, and I wasn't
Yeah.
afraid to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then being an internet marketer, and of course, you could literally post something on YouTube if you knew how to work the internet at that time. You could ride a wave. I'll never forget one time I posted something about the Gulf of Aden, which, by the way, is back in the news right now, outside of Yemen, and I talked about the Stargate portal, and I got 600,000 views in like 2 hours, right? And it was something that everyone was fascinated with. So I was poking holes in the internet, and I was putting out truth, and organically, people were starved for information at that time, but they allowed you to, I don't think they figured out how to censor us. They had to figure us out first.
But that
But
was the beauty of back then.
it
Everything that
was,
you did and what we did, we grew everything totally organically. We didn't,
exploded. Yeah.
that's all we did. There was no buying of followers. There was none of this. There was no promotion. It was purely organic.
Yeah. Now, Lou, I'm going to drop some heavy bombs here for your audience. Okay, what I had uncovered um, was so detrimental to, and it wasn't just Barack Obama; it was that entire regime that we see is still, behind the curtain, still
Yeah.
trying to enslave all of us around the world. These globalists. Um, but what I had uncovered with, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, that entire regime of people that were just extracting wealth from the United States of America and then setting up their own global governance. Um, and I was so opposed to it. Well, I was doing fact finding and research. Not only did I expose, Alex Jones was obviously the tip of the spear exposing 9/11, um, but I was digging into Agenda 21. And
Yeah.
people are like, what is Agenda 21? And I'm like, there is this conspiracy, these people behind the scenes. They met in Rio de Janeiro, and they want to get us like we're a bunch of ants. They want to get us out of sprawl, as we moved into the suburban and rural areas, and they want to pack us like sardines in the city so that they can control us with a technocracy, and to surveil us and track us and trace us. And basically, slavery was abolished for, let's say, the African American that came here to the United States, right? They abolished slavery and they got rid of it for the Black Americans, and now we're all slaves.
Yeah.
And except, except that they don't call us slaves, but we are slaves. And it's through this technocracy. Well, when I started exposing this stuff, the cabal did not like that. They did not like it at all. And there were a couple of events, because when you pick a hot story on the internet at that time, if it's let's say, a terrorist attack in Paris, everybody's tuning into that. Well, with a big event like that, that's where you get big viewership. Well, I hit a couple of big events where millions of people had come to my website. To 2014, I went head to head with the Obama regime, where they were pointing guns at unarmed protesters out at a place called Bundy Ranch.
Yeah.
And what is Bundy Ranch? Well, I just talked about Agenda 21. It was all about getting ranchers off the land, taking all their cattle, because, of course, beef and cattle were destructive to the environment. So they had to get rid of the cattle.
Yeah.
They needed to get the ranchers off the land, right? And they were willing to use military force. And as a talk show host, it was my first field event, first time I ever came out of the studio. And I said, I need to go see what's going on out there. And I witnessed that they were set out per the Agenda 21, right? They wanted the mineral rights, they wanted the water rights, and they were willing to kill people to make sure that we, the people, didn't stand up to them. Well, at that time, 9 million people a day came to our websites. And we, the people, stood up against the regime that was pointing guns at us. And we got the sheriff to intervene. And we didn't break the law. We just asked the sheriff, get these guns off of on our protesters. And the sheriff came in and kicked out the federal government from the state of Nevada. Well,
Boom.
they were so upset by that for 2 years. For 2 years, they deemed me and everybody involved in that protest to be domestic terrorists. And
Shocking.
guess why they did that? They did it to prosecute us. They couldn't prosecute us. They couldn't get a grand jury to indict because we didn't break the law. We asked the sheriff to intervene. And the Obama regime and Hillary Clinton set out to deem us to be domestic terrorists. They surveilled us, and they used the technocracy to reverse engineer indictments. And 2 years after that 2014 event, there was another protest in Oregon, same thing. We stood up for ranchers, and they ended up fabricating an indictment against me, saying that I conspired, to overthrow the government. And it wasn't true. They made it all up. They said they had witnesses. And they put me in shackles and handcuffs in January of 2016. They deemed me to be a domestic terrorist, and they held me for 619 days, facing 4 life sentences, all because I
Oh,
was a truth teller and a truth seeker. And I spent 619 days behind bars, faced 4 life sentences.
gee.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, they came after us because we should dare oppose what they were trying to do. Um, and to
You'd
let you
already been
know,
pissing them off though, because you did. I remember we were talking at the time, and you were talking to us at one of these chauffeurs for the Clintons or something. You were talking
yeah.
to, and then you'd spoken to him, and it was exposing so much. And you were, I remember you were putting that out as well. You're really doing a thing on the Clintons, so you'd
Oh,
already pissed them off anyway.
well,
Bloody
it's interesting
hell!
you bring the Clintons up because on the day that I was put in shackles, this is after a month. There was a protest that took place, and for an entire month, we held them off. They wanted to come in and kill all the protesters out there that had taken over a wildlife refuge. I wasn't involved with that, but I was covering it. And I had millions of people coming to our streams. And at the end of that month, it was January 26th of 2016. I said, why are they sending so much military force out here? Like, what is going on in southeastern Oregon? Why are they so worried about, 6 people taking over a wildlife refuge? And I said, aha, look at this. I said, uranium one is out here in southeastern Oregon. And Hillary Clinton took $140 million from uranium one.
Yeah.
And we're
Oh
screwing up
my
their game right now.
gosh.
And 10 hours later, the Attorney General of the United States of America signed off on my arrest warrant and got me off the streets and held me for 619 days. But here's the beautiful blessing behind it. You ready?
Go on.
I spent 7 months in solitary confinement and I read the Bible. That was beautiful.
Hallelujah.
Yes. And I literally started figuring out what's going on. I started understanding the Bible
And
by
it,
the
and
time I
it
got to,
amazing. The same as that's
yeah.
exactly what happened to me, but you suddenly get it, don't
Oh,
you?
yeah.
You
7 months
get
of
it.
solitary confinement. I put it to good use. I read the Bible.
Oh,
I started understanding it. I became born again right there. And I asked the Lord right then and there. I said, I'm up
thank you,
against
God.
all odds, Lord. And I said, but I accept your will. If you want me to stay in here and do your work, I'll do your work in here. If I'm going to be in jail for the rest of my life. But I said, but if you can bring your miracle, I promise you, if you walk me out these doors, I will give you all the glory. And I made him that promise. And they spent $150 million to prosecute us. I faced 4 life sentences, all of us. And we won 2 federal trials with the truth. We exposed them. They fell apart. They lost 2 federal trials. And I walked out the door. I walked out the door.
Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. Oh, wow. Wow.
I walked out the door. I asked God for a miracle. And I said, if you bring that miracle, it will come from, I'm literally unapologetically saying it on your show. I hope you don't mind. I hope the people that are listening aren't bothered by me saying that I am literally talking to you right now because of God's miracle. I asked him for it. I
That's
submitted to his will
so,
and defeated the most evil forces on planet Earth.
amen.
The most evil forces on planet Earth. And it didn't come from me.
No.
They fell apart in the
Wow.
courtroom. We were praying before we go into court that their tongues would be tied. And like 30, 40-year prosecutors couldn't even speak. Everything fell apart. The truth came out that it was all entrapment. And guess what?
Go on.
We haven't stopped going after them. Not only did we win the trials, we found out because federal agents came forward and said, you know what, what's being done to these guys is very wrong. And that we had them blow the whistle. And we found out that the whole thing was a operation to provoke. This is a judge signed off on this. It was an operation to provoke an armed confrontation with the American people. And
Wow.
we exposed it. And the truth has come out. I mean, everybody's,
Can you sue
free.
the gut?
So,
Can you sue them for this? What
oh, it's
they've done
big.
to you?
It's bigger than that.
Okay.
People are going to jail. I mean, right
Wow.
now, since President Trump is in, you know who General Flynn is?
Of course, I've interviewed him.
Yeah, General Flynn has a team. I've been working with General Flynn for for many years. I helped him with his legal case way back when.
Yeah.
Um, but he's leading an effort right now to work with the DOJ. He spent 5 days in D.C. I have three of probably of the total 10 major whistleblowers that are coming forward to not. We're not interested in suing the government and bilking the taxpayers. Uh, we're interested, of course, those that have been harmed to get compensated, of course, because their lives were destroyed. But most importantly, to put people in jail. People are going to jail. That's
Mm.
guaranteed. They're going to jail. They
It's
will be
been
going to
dark
jail.
and dirty, hasn't it? Every bit. I mean, it's still weeding out. I mean, there's so many questions I want to get to, Pete, So you got out, and then what happened? Because you're back with a force. So what's happened since? So when did you get out?
October of 2017, I came out and
Okay.
I immediately went to work. And this is what happened. It has everything, every person hearing my voice right now needs to know that what happened in the first, to President Trump in his first administration, all of those people that came after me and all the corruption within the FBI and the DOJ, all those names were all over my case. They're the same ones. They came after us. They basically practiced what they were about to do to all Americans um, with
Bloody
the
hell,
smaller
Pete.
group, which was us. So in October of 2017, when I came out, I said, "Oh my goodness, they tried to take us down out there in Nevada. They were hell bent on taking anybody that would ever stand up against them and figure out a way to, to get them in jail and make them political prisoners and so on and so forth." And I said, "These people are now after our country. They're going after President Trump." So I immediately went to work and started investigating. But guess what? The worst thing they ever did, Lou, was put an investigative journalist behind bars with all the paperwork and and with a bunch of people that wanted to go to trial. We said, we're not going to cave. We're going to expose you criminals. So that gave us access to a lot of information. And that information I want to make sure that I share with your listening audience because the entire world has been subjected to one of the biggest, what, Lou, wait till I tell you what they've been doing. You're not going to believe me, but it's 1000% legally provable, factually true, and it's going to be coming out. How they've been literally using technology for corporate and industrial espionage, uh, launching wars. There's a computer system that they built that's the most sophisticated computer technology, right? that is equivalent to what the NSA has had access to. You know how I found out about this?
Go on. Go on.
Because when they designated me as a domestic terrorist, guess what that did? That gave them the ability to spy on me as if I were to be a global Islamic terrorist.
Oh
The
my
same exact.
goodness.
Oh yes, they by giving us the terror designation, right? That allowed them to spy on me as if I were to be a member of ISIS. They could listen to everything. They could they basically reverse engineered indictments. They used all that information that they were surveilling, and I discovered what their system was. And I'm probably one of three people in the entire world that doesn't have a security clearance, that's prohibited from talking about it. And I've been exposing this system that that the likes of, this entity. I hope the UK is following who's behind this thing here in the United States. Like, all of the big names: Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama. Barack Obama had access to this system. He had a terminal in the White House that he was using to spy on his political opponents and weaponizing it against them. And here's here's something that everyone will be disgusted by. You want to hear? Did you ever wonder how they're able to all operate in unison and speak the same language? Did you
Go
ever
on,
wonder
come on, spill it. You're winding us up now. What's this
what
system?
I'm
What is it? Come on,
what
tell
I'm
us.
about to say? And people can go look this up. You can go Google it. This is legally provable. All right.
Okay.
The FBI got caught running 26 child porn servers on government property. And they said that they were doing it to investigate child pornography, when in fact, they've been using the child porn chat rooms as a means to communicate among each other covertly.
Doesn't
And they
surprise
use
me.
it as blackmail. So you could have somebody from GCHQ in the UK, right?
Uh-huh.
Part of a black operation, right? And they're communicating with the CIA or special forces operators. They get their marching. They have ISIS in there. They have these
Wow.
global Islamic terrorists that are on the payroll, and they communicate their operating orders on the child porn servers chat rooms. And they got caught. And you can go look it up, go Google it, that the FBI at one point was the largest proliferator of child
Yeah.
pornography
Yeah.
on Earth. Anyone can Google that and see it, and that will take you down a rabbit hole to show you the legal cases where they got caught doing it. Well, guess what they had to do with those servers, the 26 the child porn servers, because they got caught. They moved it to a place called Fort Washington, Maryland, right
Right.
beside.
I've heard Fort Washington mentioned before, but I don't know what in connection. Please continue.
Okay, Fort Washington, Maryland is basically a private NSA. That it's a supercomputer equivalent to the power of the NSA. It's the most sophisticated surveillance software on planet Earth. Okay. And it's a supercomputer that's run by the private sector that John Brennan, James Comey, Hillary Clinton, Barack
My
Obama, and
gosh.
all the dirtiest people on planet Earth have been using it. Now, it was originally designed to go get Al Qaeda and ISIS, right? Well, they started pointing it at innocent people. They could go get, actually, they were surveilling 30 million Americans, their political opponents, like MAGA, right? They remember when they were spying on President Trump?
Yeah.
You said they're spying on me. They were using Fort Washington, Maryland.
Wow.
They could literally listen to anybody. They could literally get into your bank accounts. They could extract your money. They can shut down your PayPal. They can turn off all your social media. They can totally and completely control anybody that is oppositional to them. And it's all done out of Fort Washington, Maryland. Turn off your PayPal, Lou. Shut down your Twitter, Lou.
Yeah. Wow.
Ban you. So this system in Fort Washington, Maryland, I discovered because of my legal cases.
My God. This is huge.
Oh, it's so huge. But guess what? They've all been found out. They've been caught. And here's their fatal mistake. Guess what it was?
Go on.
they lost the election
Yeah.
because
Oh,
we caught them. We've caught them for a while. We knew that they were evil. I mean, everybody knows that there's a cabal of people
yeah.
that have been operating behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
They've always been caught. We've always suspected them, but there's been no level of accountability. And the reason for that is because they were in power. They could cover everything up. But with President Trump being in office, and listen, I'm not just a Trump sycophant. It's the truth that I wouldn't even be here right now talking to you if Kamala Harris was in. I mean, I would have
No.
probably had to leave the country
Yeah.
because of what I know. But what is happening right now, the military is involved. I know this personally and firsthand. This is a major, major military counter coup.
Yeah.
They've hijacked the internet. I mean, the old internet is just it's blown. It's done. I mean, it's not safe. They can steal your money. They can steal your Bitcoin because they have control of that system in Fort Washington. They can steal anything with Fort Washington, Maryland. They can listen to you. They can surveil you. Um, but the counter to it is everything that Elon Musk and President Trump are doing right now. It's the most important thing I think. I think it's one of the most important things that's happened in all of human
Yeah.
history.
It's got to be done. It's he's got to drain it. I mean, I'm getting frustrated and I don't know why the Epstein list hasn't come out. You know, it needs to come out. These people, have you seen what's happened to Virginia Giuffre today?
Yes, you got it.
Yeah, and did you see what Lady Victoria Harvey had said and posted on
Sorry,
her
I was
page?
choking on my water. Yeah, Virginia. I covered the story. Virginia Joffrey
Yeah,
got
but
hit
then this
by a bus. Yeah.
Lady Victoria Harvey, who went out with Prince Andrew. She was friends with Ghislaine Maxwell. She also went out with Diddy. Had the nerve to get onto her page when Virginia was looking like that. You know, you saw what she wrote to say that she was a liar and that
Mm.
she didn't believe that she can be like close to death and still being able to type. And I honestly, I just started getting enraged and just
Listen,
reminded this is,
these sex traffickers, these blackmail artists, all of them. Okay, they've always been caught. We've always known about it, right? We've always talked about it. They don't like that, but like I said, the worst, their fatal error was they lost the election. They lost the election. As soon as that election was lost and President Trump, but I know for a fact because I'm working with an entity that's working directly with the highest levels of our military. Um, because our internet, the Department of Energy here in the United States is the highest level, of our military because they control our cybersecurity, our electric grid, and our nuclear arsenal, right? So they were very concerned about what they've done with the internet. They've just destroyed it. They use that information for blackmail, human trafficking, sex trafficking, child sex trafficking, and they've profited all off of all of it. And because they were in power, uh, look at what happened. Epstein got away with murder. you know, uh,
could you put, what about the theory that it was all kind of done, right? That Trump knew what was going on because he went round to the countries, right? When he was came in, do you remember he did the tour? He came to the UK, he went to Saudi Arabia. So when he came to the UK, the Queen stepped back and allowed him to walk in front of her. That doesn't happen. Nobody walks in front of the Queen, especially when she's doing her inspection of the guards. She walked
yeah.
back, a step back, and let Trump go ahead. Right after their meeting,
I,
they went out to do the
I
guards.
have
He then went to
I
Saudi
have to be honest with
Arabia,
you.
where
You
he was
could you could
handed
probably.
this. Go on.
Oh, go ahead.
He was handed when he got to Saudi Arabia. They handed him the like victory sword, which they give
Yeah.
to a victor. Then he met Putin at the World Cup, and Putin
Mhm.
handed him the football. The ball's in
Uh-huh.
your court. Could it
Right.
be that everything was kind of sealed during lockdown? Like Trump's always been in control. This has been a show to expose these people on what they were going to do to America. He let this kind of play out. He's always been in control, and we've kind of been watching a movie.
All right,
Could that be a
Lou.
possibility? I don't know. But everything that's
Let me tell you
happened
what I
in
do.
those 4 years was accelerated to such a speed. It wasn't, nothing seemed real while Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were there. It all just seemed like it couldn't be this ridiculous to have a president in power like that, having Hunter Biden's laptop exposed. Like it was just insanity.
Yes.
So
All
it
right.
makes you
Now,
think, are we in this stimulation kind of movie that I don't, it's
Lou,
just insane.
Lou, what I'm about to share with you, okay, and your audience may think, oh, this guy's just full of whatever.
Yeah,
You
but
can
you're
believe
not. I
that,
know
but
you're
you're gonna
not, Pete. You're not. I've known you
no,
long
no,
enough.
no.
You're
I'm
not
not.
full of
Now,
shit.
one thing I don't know about, and I didn't. I understood the significance of it, and I was told that it was very significant when the Queen stepped back. Is that a significant thing? I
Very
just
much
don't know
so. Yeah,
protocol.
absolutely. And then when Prince Philip died, right, the Queen, always leads like a royal funeral procession. She's always at the lead, yeah?
Right, right.
And Prince Philip got taken and buried, and they took him not in a hearse or a Rolls Royce, in an old Land Rover. And the
Mm-hmm.
Queen was at the back of the parade, just in a car.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Nothing seems right. And then you've got Prince William, and who the heir to the throne. They're living on a 4-bedroom cottage in the grounds of Windsor.
Huh.
I think the royal family. I think it was done and dusted. Their
Yeah.
power has gone. They have been
All
taken
right.
away, and they're there now for show.
All right. Let me share with you what I do know.
Go on.
And what I'm about to share, everyone can go research this. Okay. Um, and I have people, very close to me, people on the good side. There's a group of really good people, Lou. I consider you to be one of them, that we despite cancel culture and being destroyed and all that, we still pursue the truth.
Yeah.
We've never backed away. So those people are hard at work. Here's what President Trump has. President Trump has never been compromised by the blackmail system. So he has high integrity,
Yeah.
right? There were those within our intel services and our military that always recognized that. So President Trump was the guy that didn't have any dirt that they could roll. Look at how he was able to overcome all of his legal cases, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he never really broke the law. It was all a sham. But President Trump was selected to do the following. And his assassination, the moment that he survived the assassination attempt when he aligned with Elon Musk, that's when everything was kicked into high gear. Um, President Trump, you can go look this up. Um, he has inherited some very sophisticated free energy technology.
From his uncle.
Yes, and also, yeah, his uncle John Trump had
Hmm.
access to the Tesla files.
Yep.
Now these are facts. Okay, so that was all conspiracy theory as to whether or not, you know, his uncle, knew of anything that Tesla had in the works. But let me tell you what the facts are.
Go on.
When President Trump got shot in the ear, and he survived it, and he formed an alliance with Elon Musk. What happened at that moment, because Elon Musk was developing AI technology because of Tesla. He wanted autonomous cars. He wanted to go to Mars. Brilliant scientist, right? Brilliant entrepreneur. People can hate Elon Musk all they want. I don't care. It doesn't matter. You need to know that when Elon Musk formed the alliance with President Trump had something that Elon Musk was trying to overcome. You cannot build these data centers with the energy system that we have right now. So Elon Musk was building out something called Project Colossus. Have you ever heard of Project Colossus?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Everyone can go look this up. Go look up Project Colossus. In 120 days from when Elon Musk formed this alliance, with President Trump, he was able to spin up one of the world's largest data centers to dominate the world in AI technology. And the only way that he was able to do that is to use, and you're going to hear about this new free energy technology that's going to be coming about. It's even more powerful than nuclear microreactors. It's already in production, they're mass producing it. Elon Musk has built the most powerful AI system that powered by technology that President Trump has access to. So why did he get the Saudi Arabians to take a knee and to give up that victory sword? Because Saudi Arabia is about to be out of business. The petro business is dead. It's done because we will go from a petro economy to this free energy technology. Everyone will have the ability to power their houses, and you won't be on a pay forever scheme of pay for your electricity and all this stuff. This will be the biggest revolutionary shift. So there's bad stuff that comes with AI. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone's
yeah. I was about to say,
careful.
yeah.
But guess what? The amount of revenue that will come from the technological advances during our lifetime is going to be in the hundreds of trillions of dollars that will change the world. President Trump and Elon Musk right now are at the leading edge of that. The banking system will change. The power and the money shift will take place. It's already happening right now, and they're trying to prevent a collapse. They don't want it to happen too abruptly. But what happens when Saudi Arabia is no longer, the richest country in the world that's controlling the oil prices? Um,
Yeah.
they're done. They're finished. Elon and President Trump right now are in the process, and you're going to see, you're hearing in the news that Elon Musk is building these massive data centers. It is happening. There will be free energy technology that will be released to the world. And all of these other AI companies and people that want to get into this business are going to have to utilize the technology that these guys have at their fingertips. It's happening right now. Now, England and their banking system is done,
Oh, yeah,
finished,
yeah.
finished. It's done.
It's over.
Okay. There are a couple of industries, right, that are going to be sprouting up, not just AI, free energy technology, and also rare earth minerals.
Yeah.
Rare earth minerals, you've been hearing about it out of the Ukraine, right? They're going to need these nanoparticulates in order to put into these new chipsets, right? To feed the growth of AI. That will create an entire economy all by itself. Whoever controls the rare earth minerals, which President Trump and Elon Musk have almost absolute control over how that's going to come to market, because the way they're building this out, the economy is going to change dramatically. In April, Elon's going to be making some big announcements here. They're ready. Now, President Trump and the forever wars and all that stuff, he can literally pick up the phone and call Vladimir Putin saying, you don't have any say so in this. You're going to stop your, killing hundreds of thousands of people. If you want to be a part of this thing, you better stop what you're doing. He's going to be able to stop Iran's nuclear program. He's in a very powerful position because of this. You could assassinate him, and it won't make this technology go away. I mean,
Yeah.
it's done. It's happening during our lifetime, and everyone's going to be hearing about all of this in the next couple of months.
Okay. So listen, I don't believe we went to the moon. Okay. I
Oh,
don't.
heck no.
Right. So
Remember,
Bert
remember
Sibrel.
Gerald White?
Yeah. Let me just say this. So Bert Sibrel went to Buzz Aldrin and asked him to put his hand on the Bible to say that he went to Mars and he wouldn't do it. Don't believe it. You can't get through that astral belt. Therefore, I
No.
don't believe we can go to Mars. Obviously, we know about Devon Island, one in between like Canada and Greenland, up there up there in the Arctic, where all you
Uh-huh.
need is a red filter, and it's the
Yeah.
base on Mars. We know that NASA is the only people stationed on that island, and they even have a probe up there. Elon's rockets, I mean, I haven't seen many launches, but apparently they don't go straight up, they go across. So I'm like, wow. So I keep saying, I wonder if like Mars is just a code name. So do you know what I did? I put Mars into the gematria calendar, you know, the Jewish gematria. Guess what it came
Yeah.
back? Guess what it came back?
What?
QAnon.
Really?
Put Mars into gematria. QAnon.
Really?
Straight up. Obviously, I did
Wow.
a
I did
video.
not
I'd
know
made a
that.
little short on it because that's like, okay.
Yeah. Now imagine the people. Okay. Now I just dumped a lot of stuff
You
in this
have,
comment,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And people can go look everything up that I'm talking about, like the Project Colossus thing. People are going to be amazed at how far advanced our AI technology is. But imagine that the evildoers on the other side have been trying to set up their own economy away from the petrol economy, you know, the
Yep.
electric vehicles and all that other stuff. Well, these are evil people, but they didn't have access to what Trump had access to.
Wow.
And that's why they've been trying to stop him because they're finished. They're going to be held accountable for their criminal activity, and their methods of controlling the global economy are over. It's done. I mean, it's way beyond them.
Yeah.
The only way that they could have ever held on to what they were doing, they didn't have the technology that President Trump has access to and Elon Musk do. So they had to stop them from going forward because they would be out of business. Not only would they be held accountable for their crimes, but their entire global economy would collapse, and that's where they're at right now. It's done. It's over.
The one thing
They
with
can't.
Elon that makes me quiver that he does want to put microchips in people's brains, and then he doesn't. He's
Oh,
not a follower of Jesus Christ.
he's
That
not. You're right. Yep. You're
that's
right.
that's a concern because we've got to follow God, you know, and you, especially
Yeah,
now in America, you know, you are one nation under God. You are anointed, the United States of America.
you're
And
absolutely right. There was a significant event that took place yesterday. Everyone can look it up. All right.
okay,
And I said this with President Trump. I said, okay, he survived this thing. I said, that's epic, but he needs to give all the glory to God for
yeah,
making that happen. If he does that, he'll be able to change the world. And he, in fact, did that. Well, Elon Musk is brilliant, but he needs to submit to the will of God, right?
mm,
It's called, I call it a consecration, right? He needs to take all of his talent and brilliance and tell God, use me to do your work. But he needs to accept the Lord for everything that's about to come forth. If he does that, they're unstoppable. There will be a revival, I believe, worldwide. Um, that the evil that is upon our earth will be overpowered, and we know that it will be overpowered. It's written in the Bible, right?
absolutely,
Yeah, but we could conceivably see a huge, not just a grand awakening, but a revival
yeah.
in preparation for his coming, and it's coming. I mean, look at the IDF soldiers are running around with the third temple patches on their uniforms. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. I
Oh
didn't know
yeah,
that. But have you
they
heard of this little season? The little season. Could we be
no,
in like the? Okay, this is this. We're gonna have to come back to this because it's too long. So
yeah,
when Jesus was talking to his disciples that he was going to be coming back soon, as if they were going to see him.
uh-huh.
So there's a theory, and you know I'm open to it that we could have passed that time. He's already been back. We're waiting for the next time. That this time at the moment is Satan's little season. That's referenced in Daniel. Is it Daniel?
uh,
Satan's little season. And the more you look into it, um, the more you look into it, you have to raise questions. Are we actually? We've gone past that kind of millennial reign. We are in that little season
mm.
before the new heaven and the new earth. It's very,
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the Little Season, but I do know that the rabbis in the Holy Land, for instance, the ones that they can't stand the evils of the nation of Israel as
no.
well, the government of Israel. But they said that the evil that is upon us right now, that they determined that it was time. And I don't know if you know. Do you know the story of the red heifer, the purity
Yes,
of the?
yes, and but grey hairs have come through, haven't they? Those
Well,
heifers
no,
that came from
they
Texas, they've been
the
rejected.
they were.
Yep,
I
there's
was
no
told
red
that they
heifers
were to
there.
sac. I
No,
was told they were going to sacrifice the red heifers this Passover.
no, they didn't. They didn't do it because they were the grey hairs. They were what do you call it, tainted or whatever, because they're supposed to be completely no white hair,
Yes.
completely. No, no, because you
Oh,
see,
I didn't know that.
it
Yeah.
also feels like we're in a spiritual battle, and it
Yes.
feels like the other side are pushing God, trying to push God's agenda. That's how it seems that they're really trying to push it,
Oh, yeah.
and everything's done in His God's own time. And regardless if we're in the little season or Jesus is the first coming back, that time, all we know is we know and we believe that Jesus died for our sins, and He is the only way. And regardless, as long as you've got that in your heart, you're gonna be okay.
Yeah. This is what it's all about. We're at that moment.
Yeah,
It's a spiritual battle. It sounds so cliche to say it's a battle between good and evil.
it's
But I
fact.
think we all recognize what evil is upon us. They're willing to kill billions of us,
Yeah,
however they can, um, and they're getting ready to. Well, can we stop them? I mean, maybe it's written that it's not going to happen,
we
but
just have to
God will
pray for them.
ultimately intervene. Yeah,
We just have to pray.
yeah.
Did you hear about the guy in Sweden who burnt the Quran? And
No,
right, so he was standing up because he was not refusing for Sweden to become as an Islamic state, because it's like the sweep it's having over here. It's happening in
yes.
Sweden. And he went out and he burned a Quran in the middle of the stairs, made this massive speech. And he was going into court for doing it. They said they were going to kill him. He went onto his live feed and he says, I know they're going to kill me. And I will accept that, because
Hmm.
Islam is, if a Christian, you burn the Bible, we pray for those people. If you burn a Quran, they will kill you. And they did kill him. They
They
killed him.
did. Wow.
But, Islam is a religion of hate and jihad. Muhammad married a 6-year old,
Hmm.
and look at what we've got the problem here in the UK with these grooming gangs and everything.
Yeah.
This is
Well,
not, it is taking a swipe across Europe.
I
And it's
bet that there's a lot of good people within the Islamic faith.
I'm not
Okay,
saying that. I'm not,
but
yeah,
but
absolutely.
right, right. But this is what I do want to say unequivocally: that their religion that they've been following has been hijacked by
Yeah.
global Islamic terrorists. They want a global caliphate that cannot exist with Christianity, and their doctrine is to kill all the non-believers. They've even
Exactly.
hijacked their own. So all of the good people, because there's good people in the Christian religion,
And there's bad
but
people in the Christian religion. Look at what's going on in Daystar and others. So it's
yeah,
it's on
but
both sides.
so the people within the Islamic faith need to recognize that their religion has been hijacked for the purposes of advancing a jihad against we believe and we treasure life. We seek eternal life, but not by killing everybody that opposes us. That they have hijacked their own religion. They're
Yeah.
spreading this jihad and this and they're doing it covertly. Have you ever researched the Holy Land Foundation trials?
No.
Okay, they found the Muslim Brotherhood and their methodology for really building the caliphate is to infiltrate the universities,
Yeah.
um, to use the Palestinians as human shields to advance their jihadist agenda. But they exposed all of this documentation that revealed how they're to get to the point to where where they're at right now through absolute deception,
Yeah.
through deception. That even people of the Islamic faith are being deceived. They're being used as
Yes.
pawns, as human shields to advance an agenda that is not of God. It is
It's not.
antichrist.
It's all of the same people, though. We knew the New World Order, when we were all, 2000, when I was waking up 2007, we know what the New World Order's agenda, different people coming in from different faith borders, continual wars, we knew it all then, and we're actually living it now completely. And we've all just got, I just realised now you're on the path. When you start on the path to truth, it only leads one way. And it does to everybody. I never,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
People,
amazing.
people
God,
of
God
true,
is amazing. I want to
true.
ask you about RFK very
Uh-huh.
quickly.
Yes.
Right. No, it's not so much that. Why are children and the COVID jab still a thing? Why hasn't the COVID jab been banned? Why isn't
He's
RFK
we're
banned?
talking about a matter of weeks, him being in place. There's a
Yeah. Okay.
lot to
Fair enough.
unpack and to unpack. But you know, RFK came from. Now we were talking about the environmental movement and Agenda 21 and all that.
Yeah.
RFK was part of that, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I never trusted him to begin with, but I do know that he, wrote a good book and exposed Fauci.
Yeah.
And you can't be on the other side by exposing that agenda. So
No.
I
I would
like
have
that
just thought
President
it would. I
Trump.
would have hoped. We know what it's
Yeah,
doing to people. We know what it did to people. Why is it still like
yeah,
why?
yeah. But I
Why
don't
wasn't
think
that
that
done
he's
immediately?
ever going to. I don't think that he's like an infiltrator that's going to come
Okay.
in and work for big pharma. I really don't think so.
Okay.
Um, I know that President Trump is going to keep him contained and have him focus on cleaning up the cleaning up big pharma. But it's a big monster to
It
just think.
is.
It's been decades in the making. The pharmaceutical industry has taken over our media. I mean, all the censorship we've been experiencing came from big pharma.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They own the media, so it's a big monster. Can he affect change within weeks? I'm going to say the thing is so big, they've done so much damage. It's going to take him a little while. I don't think that he's on their side at all.
Good. It's just questions that people keep, asking me. And I haven't really been, my focus on the kids. I've been doing so much on the Diddy stuff, the court papers and all these other court cases that just
Mhm.
appeared. And
Yeah.
I've kept, I was so bored of COVID. Do you know what I mean? I was bored of it after the first month. I just
Hmm.
wish people would have talked about the children more than COVID. That's what used to just get to me so much.
Oh yeah, it's
People would just talk
that
because
was
you can't talk about the kids. It's uncomfortable and you can't. Well, that's why it's still happening, guys. People
it
ain't
is,
talking about it.
and I think COVID and the way they did that, I think it was the first the test run, and they were going to use that same methodology with the whole climate change hoax.
Yeah,
Thank
oh
God they
God,
got
weren't they?
stopped with
Yes,
that.
agreed.
You
Agreed.
know, but it was a trial run for something much bigger. Um, I'm understanding that they're going to use if they have access to it. Hopefully they don't. That what they're going to do is use technology to create this holographic illusion of like a fake alien invasion. And
Okay, okay, okay. Do you know what? You must have been reading my mind because
mm,
I must talk about drones
mm,
and these weird orbs that are spinning in the sky like it's unbelievable. And then you had the time of the booms, all those everyone's talking about the booms that were going on, these
yeah,
weird things. And now
yeah,
you've got these orbs, not just drones, they're like
right, right.
portals.
Yeah, okay. I want everybody to do this, and Lou, we have to get back together. There's so much to unpack here, all right? But I want to end on this one
Okay, sorry,
bombshell thing.
go on
Okay,
then.
you ready? The orbs that you referred to.
Yeah.
There is a scientist. His name is Salvador Pais. Have you ever heard of him?
No, but I've heard of Aaron Forbes, if you know him.
Okay.
Plasma.
I
Was it plasma?
I do know about that, but Salvador Pais,
Let me write
okay?
his name down. Salvador.
Pais, Pais.
Okay.
Okay. He has the patent for a zero point energy
Yes.
generator. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
He
Yes.
patented the technology.
Okay.
He discovered, and he's come out recently. You'll see him on the internet. He's speaking out, but he can't say everything. He's upset that they used his developed technology, free energy technology, right, for very evil purposes. They
Yes.
can literally make, remember Malaysian flight?
MH370.
Yeah, yeah, make it disappear, right?
Yeah.
That those orbs that you're seeing and all that stuff. Now, what they've intended to do is to set it up to come up with they were supposed to have an event. They want to basically create an illusion that God has come to
Yes.
earth. It
Yes.
won't be. It won't be. They want to create that and get everybody to and everyone needs to get
Hence
prepared
them
for it.
trying to
Okay.
push the agenda. Do you know what I mean? Push the
Yeah.
whole thing. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. They're going. They have been working towards this. There's a gentleman named Robert Spencer. He gave a CIA deathbed confession saying that in 2024 it was supposed to take place, but he also predicted COVID taking place. I don't. I don't know if you've ever heard of Robert Spencer.
Probably.
Ro- Robert Spencer exposed what the CIA's, the Intel Services agenda, um, uh, was. They were supposed to do the COVID thing, right?
Yeah.
And he predicted this in the late 80s. And he also
Wow.
predicted they would do a fake alien invasion by 2024. Obviously, their
Right.
timeline was thrown
Messed
off
up. Yeah.
because of President Trump,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Uh, but you're right. The orbs, all that fake, this is all driven by them. They have knowledge that they want to use for evil purposes, and we need to stop them. And when they present to you that God has come back to Earth and there's a 3D holographic image being projected in the sky, you need to know that that's part of the Antichrist.
Yeah.
Okay, it's
Exactly.
not God,
It's not good.
right?
Pete
So, all
Santilli,
right.
I'm so honoured that we had this chat. I could honestly, I could
Uh,
go for hours, but you need to go and get
oh,
some
we
food.
could.
It's
Yeah,
midnight here. So let's do this again. I'm with you, I think, on Wednesday anyway, on your show. So I
that's
can't
great.
wait for
We'll
that.
continue. Let's stay in contact. These are important times.
Well, I'm on with you on Wednesday. So Pete
Awesome.
Santilli, thank you so much. God bless you.
Oh, thank you, Lou.
And you're on every day, aren't you? On Rumble.
Every day, yeah, you can find me. PeteLive.tv is actually people can go to WKRPete.com to find me. That's where all my links are.
I'll put
All
all the
right.
links down below with
All right.
this. Thanks so much, Pete. God bless.
Thank you.